That's not a comic book. Now that's a comic book.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Comic Reviews. I'm Sid Part 2, and I have just a gigantic stack of stuff to get through today. It was already a pretty big week. I decided to add 2 more books just off the shelf, and so we've just got a lot to cover, including a trade. So let's go ahead and get right into it, starting with DC Rebirth Green Arrow, number 1, or the one-shot, I don't know. So I picked this up because Steve really liked it. He started his own comic review show, but don't go watch that. Watch my comic review show, and maybe Steve's as well, but mine's more important. Anyway, so I picked up Green Arrow number 1 based on just what Steve was talking about, and I think I would have enjoyed this more if I was not reading Renato Jones The 1%. Because this is preying on a lot of those same likes, but this is doing it in kind of like, I'm trying to think of a good way to put this. So you know how Disney will occasionally do, like, you know, historical pictures or whatever, and I use the term historical loosely, but they'll cover something, but they'll Disneyfy it up. You get that with, like, Pocahontas. That's a good example. You know, Pocahontas, it's all Disneyfied. It's polished and cleaned up and made kind of family friendly, and it's still got a little bit of an edge to it, but, you know, not as much. But then you'll get, like, an actual movie about the real Pocahontas story. It's, like, a lot more messed up. It's got a lot more of an edge to it. It's more real because it's not Disneyfied. I feel like that's what I'm reading here. This is the Disney Pocahontas, and Renato Jones The 1% is the legit thing. There's good stuff in here. There's fun stuff in here. And it's just generally nice to see hippy-dippy liberal Oliver Queen with the goatee. You know, just not to be too comical on it, but I mean, really, that's really Oliver Queen's character, is to be a bit of a stereotypical super left liberal that, like, even his positions seem ridiculous. Even as someone that is more left, Oliver Queen always just seems a little too crazy. And so that's kind of what's going on here. There's a nice little reference. We have a "This Machine Kills Fascists" sticker on a guitar, but I can't remember. It's a rock and roll guy. He's got a guitar, and it's like this really famous picture of his guitar with a label or a sticker on it that says "This Machine Kills Fascists," and I can't remember who. Anyway, that's all going on, and Oliver Queen calls himself a social justice warrior, and that's fun too. Black Canary's here. I'm just not a big Oliver Queen Green Arrow fan, or Green Arrow fan in general. But I can imagine that this is really refreshing to anyone who's been watching Arrow and is frustrated with it, or who has these left political views and just wants, you know, something maybe a little more representative of that in mainstream culture. And that seems to be what we're getting here. And, you know, Oliver just dealing with Black Canary is fun, and he makes a good case for himself as, yeah, he comes off as a bit of a hypocrite, but there's more to him than that. So, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I just, not as much as I would have if I were not reading Renato Jones The 1%. So, if that's something that's too hardcore for you, just because of the levels of violence and disturbing imagery, then this might be a good alternative, I guess. It's certainly at least, you know, touching on some of the same kind of general ideas. It's just not as impactful to me because I'm reading something that's just so much more visceral. So that's how I feel about this. I won't be picking up the Green Arrow book because of that. Because I have something much more violent and super violent and all that. Let's go ahead and move on to Batman Detective Comics, number 934. Wow, I feel like I haven't been reading this book in forever. in 70 years. Little math. About every 10 years, you'll get 100 comics, give or take. And so, yeah. Anyway. So, Batman Detective Comics. I enjoyed this to some extent, but, and this is a big but, I have the exact same problem with it that I had with Snyder. And that is, it is incredibly reminiscent of Morrison. Particularly Batman Inc. Here's the thing. If Batman Inc. had ended and just universally, or not universally, but collectively enough people decided that it wasn't representative enough of Batman to be called Batman, so that's why no one decided to run with it, and we just left that as its own thing that never got touched again. No one ever did anything with it anymore. That whole era was just like, okay, that was a weird time, we're just gonna forget about it. I'd still be sad. I really love Batman Inc. I think it was a really great place for the character to go. But everyone has kind of just agreed to ignore it. But in ignoring it, we're now retreading it and doing things that are simultaneously exactly the same, but just not as well done. And we're having Bruce go through the exact same feelings that he had. And that why he started Batman Inc. I don't know how to react to this. It's the same thing. It's literally the same ideas are being tread over again. And so I'm just like, well, if you're gonna just do the same thing, then just move on from Batman Inc. Go back, retcon the last issue, and restart the whole thing. That's what pisses me off. It's like, it's so repetitive. So I'm not gonna be picking this up either. I thought I might be back on Detective, but I am not now, because I'm just annoyed that something is taking Batman Inc., pretending it didn't happen, and then just doing it over again. What's going on here? Batman is reaching out to Batwoman to set up a team or training for the younger, more inexperienced vigilantes in Gotham. And so they're setting up a team of Gotham vigilantes. They're not younger because Baz Carlo's in there. Clayface is on the team, and that's a surprising detail and a nice little addition. That's unexpected. But Stephanie Brown's on the team, and the only thing of value that Stephanie Brown ever did was die. But then she had to fuck that up too and come back. So that should give you an idea of how I feel about Stephanie Brown being on the team. Cassandra Cain is here, but she calls herself Orphan instead of Batgirl. I just generally don't like that. Again, the Clayface thing is just fun based on the novelty. Tim Drake, Red Robin, is here, but he's in Batman Beyond Future right now being Batman, so my brain doesn't understand how to process this for very obvious reasons. It's just bugging me. I don't get why he's here. He shouldn't be here. Yet, at least. It doesn't make any sense yet. I don't know. Cassandra Cain's written well, but not as well as she is in DC Bombshells. So let's review here. We have a Batman who is going through the exact same things as Batman Inc., which I've already read and I loved. So I don't need to see that again done more poorly. We have a Batwoman, Cassandra Cain, or not, Kathy Kane, spelled differently. Kane is spelled differently. That is written well, but not as well as she is in DC Comics Bombshells. We have a Cassandra Cain who, you know, she says safe, and who doesn't call herself Batgirl, but Orphan. So I'm not really invested in that. We have Tim Drake, who literally there is no reason that he should be here. We have a character that should just be left dead, and then we have Clayface is going to be a good guy. I'm kind of interested in the last one, but not enough to make me deal with all that other crap. So no, I'm not picking this up anymore. You know, it would be great to read a good Detective Comics comic book at some point. Let me know when that happens. Star Wars Darth Vader. I finally get to be positive about a book today. Isn't that exciting? Isn't that lovely? Been watching the Looney Tunes show, the 2010-2011 one. Good stuff. Anyway, so Darth Vader. Yay. Just yay, happy indeed. We have basically two stories here. We have Dr. Aphra, who is hiding out on a planet drinking after she escaped from the rebels in the Star Wars book, which I'm not reading, but I mean, I knew that was going to happen. And 000 and BT show up to kill her, but then she asks what their exact order is, and 000 says, "Why, to bring you to the Executor to await Master Vader, and failing that, silence you." And so she surrenders, and they're like, damn it. So then they have to take her back. And then the second story is about Vader pursuing this Silo guy. It's always hard to remember his name. So this is the guy that created the Force equivalent cyborgs. And now he's betrayed the Empire, and so Vader is hot on his tail. And he's, like, been cybernetically enhancing these fucking, like, space whale fish things, so that they can operate as starships, and that's just really cool. So Vader is going after them, and, like, they try to go to warp and escape him, but Vader's in a TIE fighter, not on the Star Destroyer, obviously, because he's Vader, he's involved. Vader's on a TIE fighter, and he is able to jump onto their ship at the last minute. And Silo wants to just have Vader, like, flushed out of the ship and killed. I don't know, just, overwhelmed with droids and killed. And, Void Gazer, Silo's maybe right-hand woman, which that's a cool name, Void Gazer, wants to go observe Vader herself, and see what exactly it is he's doing in close quarters, because he's a Sith Lord. She shows up, and her and Vader have a really interesting discussion. "Good day, Vader. I'm afraid your journey ends here." And Vader goes, "I understood the twins' delusions, and Carbon was a soldier, but you are a scientist. Do you think you can stand against a Dark Lord of the Sith?" She says, "Perhaps not. There's no need to. Not when science can face you. You beat the cyber animate easily enough when implanted into Thrandoshan. But the beauty of the system was that it could be installed into any organic life form. It's a Sith Lord versus the latest product of our labs. This promises to be an interesting experiment." And we're left with Vader versus a cybernetically force-enhanced Rancor. That's fucking cool. Why is this book ending? Why? No! Ah! Damn it, that pisses me off. It's just wrong, man. It's just wrong in so many different ways. Oh, give Gillen something else with the Sith. Let me get a Palpatine book with Gillen writing. This author knows what they're doing. God, just every single moment in this has been fantastic. The next issue looks awesome. I'm really excited for it. I'm excited, but I'm not, because it's going to be one more closer to being over. And that's not okay. Why must I be persecuted? What can you do? It just sucks. It's so good, and it sucks that it's going to go away. I don't know how many Darth Vader trades there have been, but you should pick all of them up. I just might. Even though I have all the single issues. Anyway, going on to DC Rebirth, Wonder Woman #1. Just generally a note. Sorry. Just a general note. I don't read these in any particular order. I just read them in the order of the stack that is given to me at the store, and I review them in reverse order. So I could have potentially put this with all the other DC books this week, but I think this is more fun. Anyway, so you know all those people who were mad about Wonder Woman being child of Zeus and all that stuff? It's gonna go away. They're going to be dealing with some kind of reality manipulation or something to that effect, and they're going to get rid of it, or they're going to figure something else out. Maybe that'll piss off everyone even more. Basically, she's dealing with the fact that she has two conflicting memories of her, existence, and in one, she's the child of Zeus and the god of war and all that other stuff. And in the other, she's, Princess Diana, the classic Wonder Woman, born of clay, all that jazz. And she destroys Ares' helmet in her hands. And is like, well, I shouldn't have been able to do that. This was made on Olympus. That's not possible. And then she has this really interesting scene with the lasso of truth and herself in the mirror. And I really, really enjoyed that. Am I disappointed that they're just going to be retconning or something, the Azraello stuff? Sure, but I knew that would happen eventually. The first time I ever read Wonder Woman was the child of Zeus. I'm like, that's going to last for a couple years at most, and then we're going to move on. So I was able to just enjoy it on its own, thinking of it like an alternate universe thing. I'm just excited to be enjoying the Wonder Woman book again, because Rucka's a pretty damn good writer, and this first issue really shows that off. And then there's some just beautiful art. She punches a mirror, and just in all the shards, you're seeing all these different, moments from Wonder Woman's history, and they're very different styles. There's some New 52 stuff, there's some old 90s stuff, it's all over the place here. So that was just really cool to see, and I'm excited to keep reading this, because this team seems to know what they're doing and what they want. And then we get her new costume, and yay, the skirt. Just lose the cape. Just please lose the cape. I love the skirt, lose the cape. I feel like I am the one most qualified to give Wonder Woman fashion advice. Maybe. So yeah, this is... And then she goes to Olympus, but a bunch of stuff starts attacking her. And there's a nice little... internal monologue. Alright, so here we go. When a lie is confronted, there are three choices: admission and honesty, perpetuation and thus feeble deceit, or hostility, the child of fear. This lie is afraid. This lie is afraid of me. It should be. So she's seeking truth. The whole point of this issue is that truth is not existing in her life. There's truth has died in war, and that's what she's been going through lately. So that's really cool stuff. Oh, and there's been this tribute to Darwin Cook, and it's really neat and fun to see. But yeah, just stuff like that. I just really like this so far. It's been really good. Like I say, am I slightly disappointed that they're completely just throwing out the New 52 origin? Kind of. I understand it though. It's a decision I saw coming from a mile away. Personally, I was just hoping for full reboot, new versions of the same characters kind of thing. And instead we're getting a soft reboot. It all happened in some way, shape, or form, but not as we thought. Reality manipulation. Dr. Manhattan fucks up everything, apparently. Oh well. Continuing on to Grant Morrison's 18 Days, number 12. This is fucking cool. What's going on this issue? Bima's on the battlefield, completely destroying all the troops from the opposing army. And so, miraculously, it occurs to the leader of the other army, well, I should send stuff that's bigger than Bima to go fight him. And so he sends fucking cybernetic war elephants! Yeah! That's just awesome. I'll have to go get this. It's actually written by Grant Morrison. Neat. Yeah, so we got sorry, I'm talking about this book. I'll read that. Just because it's a mini-series, so. Yeah, so we got war elephants on the fucking battlefield, and Bima's fighting them, and he just, he takes a pretty good toll on him, but not enough to, it still overwhelms him. And all of his brothers are, rushed to want to come and help him, but the Dorianda, or however I say his name, I'm so sorry, I just am so bad with these names. Doriahandans, he's been, overwhelming them with smaller forces so that they're not able to come to Bima's aid so he can have Bima killed. And Bima thinks back to, being in the jungle with his demon wife and child. And there was a moment, I think last issue or maybe the one before, where his son said, just say my name and I will be at your side, by your side in an instant. Gata Chaka? I don't know. So he says that as his last word, just thinking about how much he loves his son, but he doesn't want his son to come and fight in the war. But he says that as his last word, and then, or what he thinks will be his last word. And then our last panel shows a big gust of wind that distracts the guy that was about to kill him. And there's some kind of shadowy figure that I'm assuming is going to be Bima's son. And so that was the extent of the issue, and that was just really cool. You can now get the first 2 volumes of this in trade if you haven't been reading in a single issue, and it's something I highly recommend because it's just really fucking good. It'll probably even read better in trade, and you'll just get a better sense of, characters' names and be able to remember who people are and everything. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. This is a really good issue. I don't really have a ton to say about it. I just thought it was touching, seeing Bima be this, super warrior, as they call him, fighting and just being overwhelmed by impossible odds. It was really fascinating. It was also really touching that his last thoughts are of his son and stuff like that, or what he thinks will be his last thoughts, that whole thing. That really got to me, pulled, the heartstrings too. It's just a really good, solid issue. This was originally going to be an animated series or like epic length movie, but just the funding didn't come through on it, and I can feel the cinematic pace and just the weight of all this, and I can hear the score in my head as it builds, and we feel like the plunge of a lot of this stuff. So great comic, would have been a greater movie, but still it's awesome, great stuff. Let's go ahead and move on to the thing I liked the most this week. Renato Jones, The 1%, number 2. Fuck, this is good. Okay, so we open with a rich man walking out of this hotel that he owns, and he sees a poor man on the street. And the rich man says, "Disgusting. That guy, right now he's 12 billion richer than I am. That's how in the hole I am." So there's this story that Donald Trump's daughter likes to tell about how they were walking down the street and they see a homeless man on the sidewalk. Donald says to his daughter, "See that guy? Right now he's $10 million richer than me." Because of how bankrupt he was at the time. Can you see why I love this book? Let them come for me, let them eat me whole, and let them choke. Choke on this, on the cover. And again, I just love how, graphic warning, I just love how damn in your face this author, artist, colorist, is about how much this is his thing. Once again, created, written, drawn, and owned by Kyle Andrews. I think I'm saying his name right. So graphic warning, because there's, I think it's a man getting pegged by his girlfriend, maybe, in a bondage situation, on this page. But, so there's the image, and then, yeah, there's the little credit. I love that. That's great stuff. Owned being in red font too is really clever. And so there's just all this stuff going on with that, and God, I love, one of the things I absolutely adore just visually in general is silhouette. I just love seeing things in silhouette, and he's using a lot of that. So from an artistic perspective, I'm in love with it. From a writing perspective, it's pretty damn good. From a political perspective, it's the greatest thing ever. I don't even know if this is written exceptionally well, or if it is just playing so much to my taste that I'm in love with it. I honestly could not tell you. And so Renato Jones, the 1%, the freelancer as he's called, infiltrates a disgusting rich people orgy, pretending to be the guy that he killed last issue. And he's escorted to something of his personal taste. Again, they're thinking he's someone else. And he's taken to Keep in mind, he's at an orgy party. So then he kills everybody there. Kills all the security guards because of what they're doing to children. Kills all the security guards, kills a bunch of the staff and stuff. And then he takes the rich clientele there. And he goes, an opportunity to oversee a global charity and fundraising committee protecting children around the world from abusers and traffickers. Here are your application forms. There is only one position available, and for the first time in your privileged lives, you're going to have to earn it. So it's really sick shit. And we have the Donald Trump stand in at the end, win the battle. Killed all the other rich people there. I did it. I've won. I'm a winner. Again, you can't get much more on the nose than this. And if you like things to be a little more subtle, that's not what's in this book at all. It is just shoving everything it can in your face about how awful it can be. And it's meant to. It is meant to shock and offend and overwhelm. Mr. Ball is the guy's name. So anyway, Renato recorded the guy killing all of his friends and family, his other rich friends, and gives him and tells him that he's gonna broadcast the video all over to everyone he knows, and he gives him a gun as a chance to get out. And the guy tries to kill Renato with the gun, but Renato gives him a nice fuck you, and we just get this awesome fucking panel. Blam. That's fucking cool. Jesus Christ, this is cool. And now we have, rich men trying to figure out what the hell they're going to do about the freelancer, as they call him. And they decide that they're going to use Mr. Wicked Awesome, who's some kind of mercenary, superpowered mercenary. Again, I really like these final pages that they're doing, where it's like a preview of next time. That's just really neat. And again, the ads are back. Renato Jones, Jester Deluxe. Wealth Guilt, he'll be the judge of that. I really like that. Yeah, just cool shit. I just fucking love this. It is gritty as balls. It is wholly unpleasant, and it's meant to be. This is meant to shock and overwhelm your senses and to offend you in some way, shape, or form. But to do so in a way that makes you realize what it is you're getting offended about. It's meant to be disgusting because it's showing what's disgusting. And then there's a great letters page in the back talking about, from people just talking about their reactions to it. Hello, security officer by trade or calling, but what can you really say? I picked up your first issue at this year's Free Comic Book Day, but it wasn't free as if anything this good should be. I once worked in the world's largest casino. This was a fact they prided themselves with. In those days, I saw rich people piss away $100 bills without batting an eye. I saw nothing on their faces when they would win $10,000 jackpots and hear them mumble how they are still behind. They made me sick. I don't say this for any attempt at forming an underdog personality, but I sent this letter because I saw it in your comic, The Same People, getting what they deserve. I don't have any aspirations to be anything like Mr. Jones, but I do enjoy the stories. I picked up this issue because I want more independent and self-owned artists. We blue-collar workers need each other. That mentality is really what this is tapping into, and I love every second of it, so highly recommend this book. Yeah, that's it. Enjoy. Get it. It's IDW, so it shouldn't be that hard to get from local stores. Action Comics number 957. Oh. Action Comics number 957. Again, God, it's been a really long time since I picked up an issue of Action. I just finished reading issue number 52, I thought. Man, I got really behind on my pull list. So Superman is back. Lex Luthor is impersonating or trying to fill the role as Superman right now. And the old Superman sees this going on and he's like, no, fuck no, that's not happening. So he reveals himself and he's in a shouting match with Lex, and he just can't conceive that Lex honestly wants to help people and really fill the role as Superman. And so they get in a fight. Meanwhile, something that's been stolen turns out is alive and is being flown by hovercraft around Metropolis. So Superman and Lex start fighting, and then in the middle of their fight, the hovercraft loses balance because of how damn heavy the thing is. It lands right behind him. Clark Kent is back too, even though he was supposed to be dead and everyone knew Clark Kent was Superman. So Lex doesn't believe that either of them are the real Superman. So we are really dealing with, all the Superman thing. But behind them lands Doomsday? Maybe? That is just like his original costume that he was wearing before he slowly revealed himself as it got more and more ripped up. But yeah, it was a cool issue. I didn't love it or anything. It was just okay to me. I don't know if I'm going to keep picking it up because I was really liking what Pac was doing, and this is just alright. I don't like Death of Superman or the whole Superman thing. I think it's honestly really, really bad and completely stuck and just drowning in the comics of its time, and they should have had the forethought to think, we're killing off Superman, we should probably make this stand on its own some more. So that's always been my problem with Death of Superman, but I've read it, I just don't enjoy it. And this seems to be like a big nostalgic throwback to that, so I just don't think that's my kind of thing. So I think I'm going to be dropping Action Comics yet again. Wow. This book and me have a really, really tumultuous relationship. We're on again, off again, all the time, man. Ugh. Final single issue of the week is Star Wars Poe Dameron number 3. So the Mexican standoff in space kind of ends in a really kind of what the shit action-packed kind of way. I don't know how much I really care for all that stuff. Poe is written well. Poe's written fairly cleverly. There's a scene with him and Captain Terex, where everyone's kind of distracted by some crazy shit that's going on, and Poe tries to throw a sucker punch to knock the guy out, but the dude sees it coming and is able to avoid Poe's punch, And it's talking about how it's all like a it's all just like he's too quick. He's not predictable villain kind of thing. And Poe's on the floor as Trex reaches for his sidearm. And Poe says that wasn't a sucker punch, Trex. It was a distraction. And turns around with the guy's gun. So I quite like that. All this fighting stuff in the sky I don't really care about. That's the problem with doing like big action in a Star Wars book at times. It's just there was so much movement and stuff in the films, so it's hard to capture that sense of speed and adrenaline in a comic book. So anyway, this whole situation kind of comes to a head and ends, and it looks like we're setting up Trex to be a recurring villain for Poe, because we leave him alive at the end. And Poe figures out what they wanted to know about Santeca, and so they go to continue their mission to find Santeca and thus Luke Skywalker. It's just okay. It's an alright issue. There's nothing wrong with it. There's also not a ton that jumps out to me. There is a bit of a cinematic sense of timing with some of it, though. Let's see if I can find... Oh yeah, it's like right on the first page. So Trex says something, after all your colleagues are flying starfighters, and then the next story page cuts to them up in the air flying starfighters. And then, yeah, we get it was a distraction scene, and then it goes back to the starfighters, so you're kind of left on the edge of your seat, in a sense, if you're really into it, about what's going to happen. And then there are these weird, floaty, glowy guys, and I don't even know what to make of them. I hope they come in to this story again at some point and mean something, because right now it's just like, what? I don't know. It's just weird stuff going on. I'm not sure how big these guys are, or if they're... No, they are getting bigger. I take that back. They do mention it. So never mind. Ignore that one. Yeah, it's just alright. I'm not in love with this book, but it's enjoyable. I guess I'm glad I'm picking it up, but I'm just not, like, tripping over myself to read it every week or whatever. So yeah, that'll do it for the single issues this week. I'm going to take a quick break and then be back to talk about trades. Okay, here we are again, and for trades this week, we have Red Knight, A Knight Without a Sword. This is a comic book series. It's independent. Very independent kind of week. Or not super independent, I guess. I mean, IDW, but it's very not the two companies kind of week. This is an independent series done by one Mr. Justin Cristelli, aka The Real Manos, here on YouTube. And you can go check out his channel and get some really great videos from Manos. And he's also on Geekvolution a lot now as well. Yeah, he publishes his own comic book series called Red Knight. It used to be through Primal Paper Comics. I believe it's now Dead West Comics, if I'm remembering correctly. So you can get the current issues of that as they come out. Or you can follow him on DeviantArt to read the scripting. Or the stories in prose form. And I got this a while ago. He did a Indiegogo thing to try to raise money to get a trade published, and he got it colorized, and it looks great colorized, by the way. So he started up a whole thing to get the trade published, yada yada, and I was really glad to help support that, and I got the trade out of it. And it's just really freaking cool that, someone I know is writing comics, and writing comics pretty damn well, if I do say so myself. JC Grande does the art, and I'll get into how I feel about the art, but just, it's a really cool, fun, independent book, and it's it's a comic book fan's comic book, if that makes sense, or a superhero fan's comic book, because it's very aware of the tropes and the ideas, and it's kind of like, interestingly enough, this feels like it could potentially be set in one of the big two universes to some extent or another. There's a particular really important plot point related to the rest of the world, in that if you have superpowers, you have to be registered with the government in order to be able to be a superhero, and if you're registered with the government, they decide where you work. And that makes sense. That's an interesting idea, and it's played with, but that means some of the smaller cities don't get to have superheroes. Which, I mean, to be fair, in comics, how many small cities have superheroes? Spider-Man could never be Spider-Man in Fort Wayne. He would have like 3 buildings downtown on lock, and that's it. Everyone else would just be able... You do any crime you want down on Anthony Boulevard or out in Georgetown Place, and no one could do shit about it. Spider-Man, at least, couldn't do a goddamn thing about it. He'd be like, well, I could swing and chase him, but I can't really... There aren't a ton of buildings for me to get to, so I'm kind of just on my feet. So, certainly there don't exist... you wouldn't have to, I guess, have it be that kind of law. You could just potentially have a hero who wants to operate in his own fairly small town, but that's neither here nor there. This is just about the story itself. I'm just saying, I could see this fitting in with some of those bigger universes and working well as just a nice little aside thing. But I do really like this book. And it's written with so much heart. It takes the idea of, okay, we exist in a world with just a shit ton of superheroes, too many for people to count. What is it like to live there? And so we open this book with 2 kids looking through a telescope at the sky, and they see a superhero fly over. And it's a predictable pattern for that guy to go, because that's his route home or whatever. And just, I don't know, I really like that. And they have this conversation about just wanting to go out and fight bad guys, but like they don't really understand what bad guys are. They don't understand what superheroes are, and it's like this conversation between 12-year-olds. They don't know what the hell they're talking about, and it's just frustrating. And it's a boy and a girl, and they're sitting there yelling at each other because they don't really understand the issues, and then it gets kind of awkward and they kiss. And I really like how real that feels. That's just a very realistic portrayal of just youth, and so it's a heightened world of comic booky weirdness, but it's also, the people in it still feel very real. And then just there's some great interactions here in the beginning. I'm going to try not to summarize every detail, but I just really like how it starts that way. What else goes on? I don't want to get into the details. I really like Todd McClane. He's just a really... Did I get that right? I hope I got the last name right. Todd McClane. He's just a really neat character who's just got... he's got the heart for it. He just wants to be involved, and that's really neat. And Martha Brown's just a really cool, badass cop lady detective. She's tired of this bullshit she has to deal with, and she's tired of the fact that she doesn't get to have that her town isn't worthy of a superhero, and that their super villain budget is, bare minimum. And the reason that they have a super villain budget is Norfolk, Virginia is like a small enough town that supervillains use it to lay low and lick their wounds whenever they get their ass kicked by a hero in a major city. And so they have a supervillain problem there, but they're not important enough to have superheroes. So that's why she's kind of cool with Todd being Red Knight doing his thing. And she's going to train him how to actually fight because he has superpowers, but he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I I don't know, it's just really neat. I like the idea of driving around town not knowing what the hell's going on. The supervillains are written really well. The art style is really interesting in this. It's got a very sketchy but a really neat look to it. Go back to that first page of this issue. There's a grimy but charming nature to some of this art. It's got like a pointed anime kind of look at times, but it's very Western still. It's just really neat how this all looks. Man, I really fucking like this. This is really cool. Yeah, just generally, I really like this book. I don't want to give away any of the story because I just... it's been out for a long time. You can go read this yourself, and this is something you should be reading yourself. The covers are fucking gorgeous, by the way. And I like how the characters are written. They just interact really well. I will say, I think it does get a bit wordy at times. It feels like there's more paragraph on the page than there is art. That's not like the worst thing ever. It's just, I kind of like some things to just be, it's just the dialogue could be tightened up a little bit. Like, here's a good example. There's this guy with some kind of energy powers. He's running toward Todd. You hear that, Cracker? I'm gonna fry your ass. All you got is strength. That ain't nothing compared to what I got. I can suck up energy of all types. I can take electricity, some other chump's power, maybe even magic. There ain't any kind of energy I can't drain. How about kinetic? What? And then Red Knight punches him. Nice powers. It seems that your only weakness is a punch to the face. Like, I really like that scene. That's a fun scene, but it's just a really, really wordy scene for someone to say. It's really a lot of words for someone to say in the middle of a fight. So we have a lot of build-up for a really great quip, but it's still supposed to be a quick quip in the middle of a fight. And so it feels really wordy at times. You can look at the dialogue balloons on some of these pages and just see how much information we're getting. So, I don't know, I feel like there's a way to just give the exact same amount of information, but do it with fewer words. So, that's something I think that could use work on this. And to be fair, it's in a ton of comics. Again, just there's a lot of dialogue on each page, and I don't mind a lot of dialogue. If it's more direct dialogue, I don't mind it. I don't like when someone talks in a whole paragraph, because I just don't find that to be wholly realistic. But at the same time, I like the characters and just the interactions so much that I don't care. It's just cool. And I'm sure that Manos himself will improve on that as time goes on. And then we get like a backup story here that's just kind of, gives you an idea of this world that Red Knight is living in and how he feels about wanting to be a superhero. And it's done by a different artist, I'm pretty sure. But it's just really cool stuff. This backup issue is actually a pretty good way to just, I feel, get into the comic, or make you want to read the comic. You might think this is a bit much of an idea, but I'll throw this out there. I almost think this backup issue should be something that's either available for free, or maybe if you could talk Milan into making a motion comic out of that. I'm pretty sure that would help get some views on it, and just get some more circulation. And even the dialogue, or even the monologue, boxes are a bit wordy too. But again, that's just something that happens. I'm sure that it can be improved. That's really my only major complaint. I love all these variant covers in the back. Like, each one of these is a poster on its own. They look great. It's just really freaking cool. So yeah, I highly recommend picking this up. And the second volume just came out, which is why I decided to start talking about this now. Second volume just came out. That'll be probably on next week's show, you know, if I get time to read it at work, yada yada. But I highly, highly enjoyed this. It is just a comic fan's comic. I do have one other complaint. Give me a sec. I gotta go grab a book. Okay. So here is a standard size comic book trade. And here is Red Knight Volume 1. That's driving me crazy on my shelf. That is legitimately messing with all of my OCD. That they're not the same size. That legitimately pisses me off. I like stuck it on my shelf. I'm like, why is it not flush with all the others? It must be flush with all the others. I'm like cut through like this much of the book and just erg. That's very, very troublesome. That is the worst thing about this book, is that it is not the same size as other comic books. But what can you do? I guess I could put it with my hardcovers. But yeah, great trade. I'm pretty sure this is still available. I'm pretty sure he's still got a couple of these kicking around, so it's definitely worth picking up. He did an Indiegogo, like I said, to get it colorized and distributed, and the colors look great. I am damn disappointed that I'll say at the beginning, I am damn disappointed that Volume 2 was not colorized, but what can you do? Really great book, though. I highly enjoy this. It's just fun. It's just got so much heart. You just can't help but smile while you read it, and I really love that about it. Okay, everyone, that'll do it for this week's episode of Comic Reviews. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will be back next week with more single issues, and yeah, Red Knight Volume 2 if I can manage it. If you have any suggestions for single issues that you would like me to pick up and talk about, please leave those in the comments below. I promise I'll pick up at least one issue if I can find it, and I will talk about it on the show. Or if you have any trades or graphic novels you would like to hear me talk about during Trade Talk, please leave that in the comments below as well, and I promise to keep my eyes open for them and talk about them when and if I find it. Alright everyone, thanks for watching. Bye.